What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. Today, man, we got to talk about one position. That one position is the cornerback position because the Panthers, we've got J.C. Horn, we've got Mike J, we've got Shaw Smith Wade. But if one of those goes down, right, if Shaw Smith goes down, who's going to cover the slot, right? If Mike J goes down, who's going to cover the number 2? Because I don't think Shaw Smith is going to cover the number 2. If J.C. Horn goes down, oh boy. So today, we're covering the cornerback position. The Panthers are starting to make moves. I'm going to be honest, they're not big moves, even though we do see this right here. I'm letting you know now. They're not big moves, but they're making moves. Let's jump into the video, man. So first up, all right, wild trade buzz links Panthers to fierce enemy Marshon Lattimore. All right, so they talk about Dan Morgan. You know, he's improved the Panthers defense. Pretty aggressive if you ask me, right? But the one position that we talked about before, it didn't get upgraded. And they think there's a chance that the Panthers could get Marshon Lattimore. Now, Marshon is obviously past his prime, but I still think he could teach some of the younger guys on the team that we have some good moves as a DB, right? And I think he could help out Mike J too. But let's talk about what it would take for the Panthers to get Marshon real quick. Anthony P. of Last Word on Sports basically says right here that with the Commanders drafting Trey Amos at 61 overall, that there's a chance that Marshon could move on, all right? The quote is right here. The Carolina Panthers are in the best position, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side is improving. Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn are two solid cornerbacks who won't lose their jobs. But they could have someone like Lattimore in rotation, which never hurts because of depth purposes, right? The Panthers might not be playoff contenders, but if they add a few championship-minded veterans, they could be pushing in the right direction. Then it goes on to say that Lattimore, he joined the Commanders via trade before the 2024 deadline, but due to his injuries, they didn't really get a big ROI on him for that past season. So one thing I want to look at when it comes to the Panthers and the cornerback position, let's go back to last year real quick. So last year, all right, let's just say number 1 right here, J.C. Horn. All right, he's number 1. Number 2 was Dane Jackson. Now, this depth chart is from May 1st of last year. So you had J.C. Horn at the 1. We were supposed to have Dane Jackson at the 2, but I don't think Dane Jackson came back until, week 6, 7, or 8, give or take? Maybe later, and he came back. Ooh, it was bad. It was all bad. So, I was one of the ones like, oh, Dane Jackson, J.C. Horn, oh, we're looking good. Turns out we weren't. Nickelback, Troy Hill, all right, no longer on the team if I'm not mistaken. And then if you look behind them, all right, you got Deshaun Jamison. That's who's going to back up our number 1 corner. Behind him was Boodle. I don't think Boodle played terrible, right? I think Boodle's more of a slot, to be honest. And then Shaw Smith Wade. And then you got Lamar Jackson, who I thought had a good preseason. And then you got Drew, and then you got Parker as well. These were our defensive backs last year. These were the defensive backs come May. Now, obviously, Dan Morgan, Dave Canales did a great job. They brought in Mike Jackson from Seattle. But this is who we had. And I thought it was decent. But looking back, this is kind of rough. All right, and if we look at this year, are we looking better? Let's take a look real quick. So for 2025, you got Mike J, you got J.C. Horn, you got Shaw Smith Wade. Let's look who's going to back up them potentially. All right, so you got a Caleb Evans. I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about him. All right, Shamar Bartholomew. Watched him a little bit. I thought he was okay. I'm not going to sit here and hype him up too much, but I thought he was okay from what I saw last year. And you got MJ Devonshire, which we're going to look at in a second, okay? Behind them, all right, behind Mike Jackson and Evans right here, you got Mike Reed, all right, and Corey Thornton. So as you can see, the cornerback room still needs a little bit of help, okay? My thing is this right here, before we continue the video. If the offense is firing on all cylinders, I think next year we're going to add more defensive backs, whether it's draft, free agency, trade, right? And we're probably going to add inside linebackers too, especially if the league starts to go back to its roots where they run the ball more. You're going to need inside linebackers. But hey, if the offense gets clicking this year, we got McMillan, Leggett starts to figure it out. You got Moore, you got Thielen, you got Coker. You got Chuba, you re-signed him. You drafted Trevor Etienne. Offensive line's pretty much locked up. May have to find a replacement at right tackle for Taylor. Other than that, I think we'd be good, right? Just Tavion Sanders only hit his second, third year in. So we might be looking good offensively, and the next year we can focus strictly on defense and building that up to the same part as the offense. But let's keep this thing going. So we just got done talking about the cornerback position. Now we're going to talk about the safeties. But before we talk about the safeties, we have to talk about how much emphasis have we put on the DB, right, whether it's cornerback or safety position over the last few years in the draft. Okay, so 2024, you got Shaw Smith-Wade. Honestly, this draft class, it's pretty good if you think about it, because you replace Michael Barrett with Mike J. Brooks injuries, we'll see what happens. XL, there's still a lot of hope. 2024 was pretty good, all right? They took one cornerback that was in the 5th round. 2023, they took a safety once again in the 5th round, Jamie Robinson. And the thing with this, all right, go back to 2024 real quick. When they took Shaw Smith-Wade, they weren't getting a replacement or somebody to play the 1-2 with J.C. Horn. They were getting somebody to play the nickel, which I'm not mad at, but I felt like we needed a 1-2 corner, okay? The next thing to look at right here is 2023. And in 2023, who did they take? Jamie Robinson. This was supposed to be Trayvon Mulrig, right? Jamie Robinson coming out of Florida State, he was supposed to be Trayvon Mulrig. But once again, 5th round, all right? Jump to 2022. In this draft class, I mean, it's not bad, right? It's not great. It's definitely not great. But 2022 right here, you're going to see we took Icky right here, Matt Corral, Brandon Smith, Barno, Cade Mays, and then a cornerback in the 7th round. All right, you kind of see when they're taking the secondary the last few years, okay? 5th, and 7th, and 2021 right here. They took J.C. Horn, all right? TMJ, Brady Christensen, Tommy Tremble, Chuba Hubbard, Damian Nixon, and once again, a cornerback in the 5th round. Now, with that being said, yes, they're going to have to invest into a corner, right? But I don't blame them for not doing it this draft because you needed a playmaker on offense, right? Or you needed an edge guy. DBs have to wait. You just paid J.C. Horn all that money. The DBs have to wait, right? And the thing is with the offense, all right, they pick up Thielen, they pick up Coker. Who's our next guy? It's Leggett, right? And Leggett, that's a lot of pressure on 3rd and 5. Because on 3rd and 5, it's going to be an in. It's going to be an out. It's going to be a hitch. And that's where he struggled at the most. But let's take a look at Dan Morgan real quick and what he said about Trayvon Mulrig. So Dan was on the drive with Tim D this week. The Panthers GM made it clear that he's still exploring options to strengthen the secondary, especially at free safety, because that's where the Panthers are lacking. And really, they've lacked the last few years because, I mean, I know we're getting sidetracked again. I'll never understand, and maybe I'm just blind to it, but why Aviro got rid of Chen. I felt like Chen, if you could develop him, he would be the perfect free safety, right? I know he was playing strong safety, if I'm not mistaken, but I felt like if you developed him, he could have been the perfect free safety. You move on from him, right? Was that 2 years ago? Because he stopped playing, right? Injuries or whatever happened. And really, he didn't even play that last year he was here. And I feel like they've never even found a replacement for him yet. So let's get back to the article, though. I got a little sidetracked. So the Panthers GM made it clear that he's still exploring options to strengthen the secondary, especially at free safety. Yeah, we're definitely going to explore some guys that are still out there, Morgan said, but drafting a guy like Lathan Ransom, all right, he brings that demeanor and mentality we're looking for, that tone setter type mentality. That's something the Panthers have been missing at the safety position. And really, some might say the linebacker position too. And then Dan Morgan also praised Trayvon Mulrig's ability to play just beyond the box. And this is kind of why I like PFF sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes because of instances like this. You know, Dan says Trayvon, he's not just a box guy. All right, he said Mulrig played nearly 70% of his snaps on the back end over his first 3 seasons. And his coverage grade was a 75% in 2023. So, I guess, you know, you sign Trayvon, you drop him in the back end, you bring Lathan up. I mean, is that what the Panthers are potentially going to do? We'll see what happens. That shocked me a little bit because, you know, watching Trayvon Mulrig, I'm like, oh, he's an in-the-box guy, right? Then they draft Lathan. I was like, okay, similar to Trayvon, but maybe based off what Dan's saying here, he's not just a box guy. He can play the back end too. He can be that single high safety you need him to be. So maybe that's where we're headed with this. Then goes on to say there's also a few other options, whether you got Justin Simmons, Rayshon Jenkins, or Jordan Whitehead, who previously played for Tampa Bay. The Panthers' pass defense ranked 22nd in opponent passer rating last season at 92.3. That's why we have to upgrade the secondary. 92.3. Woo, that's rough. That's rough right there. So now let's finally get to the Panthers, making some moves. Let's talk about it. First up, it's going to be an interesting guy to look at right here. Okay, MJ Devonshire. As you can see right here, he's pretty new. Okay, he's not an older guy. He's a young guy, right? So let's look at the film and see what are we getting out of Mr. MJ Devonshire. First play, bottom of your screen right here. You're going to see he's different than the cornerbacks we currently have. Very, very physical cornerback. He wants to press. He's not looking to run. He wants to press. He's going to be all over you. And he's going to get some flags. Like right here, I'm not sure why they threw a flag. I mean, maybe he got him right in that shoulder pad right there. But he is going to run with you. And I like that right there. The Panthers don't have that. I want a DB who's going to be physical. And then right here, top of your screen, I mean, he's right there with the receiver. Now, with that being said, when you gamble, as we all know, well, for those who have gambled anything, right? Sometimes you win, but sometimes you lose. And take a look what happens, top of your screen. I mean, he just he gets bullied, right? He gets bullied right here. Take a look. Bang. Now, it's not easy to see what happened, right? He goes to press as the receiver is going full speed. Receiver probably has, just based off looking at the picture, I would assume probably 20 pounds on him. 15, 20. Okay, so this receiver, full stride ahead, right? So his momentum is pushing him forward. And you look at MJ right here. You can see his footwork isn't great when he gets shoved, as you're going to see right here. Take a look. One foot's not even on the ground, right? But that's the thing. When you gamble, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, like right here. Again, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And right here, bottom of your screen, he makes up for it, right? So Devonshire, he's a gambler. And then right here, look, he's trying to force his receiver to the outside. Right? Look how he's playing it. The man's a gambler. Right? Bottom of your screen right here. I mean, he's all over the receiver. Right? He's not holding him. Right? Illegally, anyway. But his footwork, man, his footwork looks good. So MJ Devonshire, I'm high on right now just because it's a physical cornerback, something the Panthers haven't had in a while. And who knows what can happen learning from JC, Mike J, and everyone else. All right. The next guy we're going to talk about is Keon Crossan. And let's read about this real quick. So like it says right there, they're bringing him in for the team's rookie camp. It's not costing Morgan anything to find out if he can bring something to the franchise. Now, I'm like, okay, what has he done? All right. It goes on to say right here, he hasn't played any meaningful NFL reps since the 2022 season. The time with Miami Dolphins ended in 2023. All right. After an injury. So he hasn't played in 3 years now? So it goes on to say that Crossan appeared in 32 games over those 2 years with the Texans, spending most of his time on special teams. And I think this is why Dan signed him right here. Special teams, okay? The Texans acquired him from the New England Patriots at the end of their preseason in 2019. Goes on to say that he started 4 games in his second year, 5'10", 46 tackles, 5 passes deflected. All right. 57% completion percentage on targets, 91% passer rating allowed when targeted. Only gave up 1 receiving touchdown. What do I take from this? What do I take from this right here? Special teams for sure. And then maybe he'll get some kind of rotation in at some point potentially. But I'm guessing that's all special teams and depth right there. Next thing to talk about is this right here. The NFL has this international player pathway, and certain teams will add guys who are international, right? The Chiefs added, I believe, the rugby guy last year, and I don't think he's on the Chiefs anymore. This year, the Panthers have added Mr. Double M, because I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, and I don't want to butcher him, right? So let's look a little more in depth on who this guy is right here. So it says Double M, aka Moz, all right, has achieved a dream he didn't even know he had until recently. If you Google his name, one of the first results is his LinkedIn page for accounting job. Well, his former accounting job. The defensive end was signed by the Carolina Panthers this week through the NFL's International Player Pathway Program. The 20-year-old familiarized himself with American football by watching Netflix Last Chance U and Quarterback to learn more about the game before joining the Nottingham Caesars, an American football team in the British American Football Association National League. He spent a year with the Great Britain national team for the 2024 European Championship. Okay. No more reading. Let's take a look. What are we getting out of Moz right here? So let's jump into the film room right here and take a look. What are we looking at right here? So he's going to play the edge. It's a good move by him, but I'm not sure what, if this is the tackle or tight. I can't tell. This might be a tight end right here. He might be trying to chip him and work his way second level. But Moz right there in the backfield. Okay. Not a bad first play. Second play. All right. Lined up over here. Let's take a look at what we're looking at. All right. Control the tackle. Not bad right there. This one right here. What are we looking at? All right. Blow up the play. Not bad. Definitely not bad than right here. He's going to make the tackle, but my boy, I'm going to need you to run through that thing. You're going to see, I believe we're going to have what? The tackle pull right here. There's a little power. Oh, yeah, we're going to double pull right there. You can see he's kind of like a deer in headlights. He's like, oh, I don't know if I want that smoke right there. Let me back off. And yet he still makes the tackle. So I think right there, a little deer in headlights, but hey, he still made the tackle. Good stuff right there. Might have one or two more left. Let's take a look right here. All right, edge once again. Not bad. The only thing I think I would say is I just be more aggressive off the line. Because he can be. I think he can be way more aggressive off the line. Take a look one more time real quick. You can see he's kind of waiting, letting the block get to him, or that's a bigger fullback. All right, fullbacks don't exist, but a tight end's going to run him over, especially going full speed. But nonetheless, not bad, right? So that's going to wrap it up. Panthers obviously have to address the cornerback position at some point. Going to have to stop taking guys in the 5th round. Not that Lathan Ransom wasn't a good pick, but if we're going to really build that secondary, we're going to have to draft a little bit earlier. Now, with that being said, I get it. Offense that needs help. So take care of that first, then we'll build the defense. With that being said, that's going to wrap it up. Panthers Devices out. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.